three beliefs in particular that I realized that all wealthy people believe. You're like, ooh, what are these mindsets? Tell me the mindset so I can start to think like this and start to create financial freedom for myself rather than financial insecurity. You're in luck because we're going to get into it in this episode. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. And if you are new to my podcast and you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, you can come on over to YouTube. Sometimes I splice in B-roll where you can see examples of what I'm talking about. And if nothing else, you can see my crazy facial expressions. But in today's episode, I almost wanted to do this as kind of like a part two to the podcast episode I did about my yacht cruise experience. So you can check out that episode here if you're watching on YouTube. It should pop up on the screen. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I got the opportunity this summer to do a yacht cruise in Croatia with several entrepreneurial couples. It was amazing. I won't rehash everything that I learned on the cruise and what my takeaways are. You'll have to listen to that episode if you want to find that out. But I got the thought process for today's episode, which is all around the three beliefs. And I know that there's more, but there's three beliefs in particular that I realized that all wealthy people believe, or the vast majority of them do. And I got the inspiration from that cruise, not just because I was surrounded by successful entrepreneurs for 7 days, not just because we were going to all of these different cities and islands in Croatia where there were, a lot of very successful entrepreneurs and, just successful people. Obviously, they own yachts. We were chartering ours, right? But there were many people who actually owned yachts who were vacationing at the same time that we were. And we got to kind of interact with them and hear their story. So not just because of those things, but also because on this cruise, I read some books, right? Of course, I took some books with me, one on the long flights over. It was like 7 hours to Paris, 2 hours from Paris to Croatia, and then 2 hours back from Croatia to Vienna or so, and then another 9 or so hours from Vienna. So I was in the airplane a lot going to and from Croatia. So I was on the plane reading, and then I was on the boat reading. And there were three books in particular that I was devouring. They were so good. And I'm going to share what those books are at the end of this podcast. So you'll have to stay through to the whole podcast in order to see what those books are. And I definitely recommend them. And I recommend that everybody read them. But in today's episode, I want to really talk about the takeaways that I took from those books. And it was just eye-opening to me because as I was reading the books and then taking these takeaways, I saw it in real time, right? Because I'm also interacting with very successful entrepreneurs on this yacht. We're meeting people, and I'm realizing that the people that I was surrounded with, at least for those 7 days on the cruise, embodied the very lessons that I was reading in the book. And I was just like, man, so many people live lives of just financial insecurity, even if they're making good money, even if they have a good job, just always this like cloud hanging over them, or always this sense of not knowing if they're going to be financially okay. And I just think that that's terrible because that prevents people from really going after their dreams. In fact, that was one of the questions I used to ask people all the time when I was younger. I was like that annoying, pesky little, niece that would always ask my aunts or uncles or even family friends, you're so good at XYZ, like, why aren't you doing that? And they would just shake their head and say, oh, you're young, you don't understand. When you get my age, one day you'll understand. But, I got bills to pay, and that doesn't pay the bills, and I got to do this thing. And that just was always crazy to me. Like, how could you live your whole life not doing what you're good at, really what you feel like you're called to do, because you have to pay bills? But I would say not only do people live like that, the vast majority of people live like that. And I think the vast majority of people live like that because they lack these three mindsets that I'm now realizing that practically every wealthy person has. So if you're like, ooh, what are these mindsets? Tell me the mindset so I can start to think like this and start to create financial freedom for myself rather than financial insecurity. You're in luck because we're going to get into it in this episode. All right, the first mindset that I realized that wealthy people have that allows them to create wealth and then maintain wealth is the belief that money is a byproduct before it is a bank account balance. I'll say that again. Money is a byproduct before it is a bank account balance. And what is money the byproduct of? Money is the byproduct of solving problems and solving problems in an excellent way. Simply put, if you can solve a real problem and you can do it in an excellent way, you will never have a money problem, right? If you can solve problems, you'll never have a money problem because people will pay you to solve their problems. I think part of the issue is so many of us, especially in the middle class, are groomed not necessarily to think in terms of problem solving, but to think in terms of like positions, right? Like job positions, right? So we go through our whole education system thinking, okay, what is a job that's going to pay a good salary and like let me do whatever I need to do in order to get that job. Now, the problem with that is that essentially you are solving a very specific problem for a very specific type of corporation or a very specific type of industry. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, sometimes you're then able to parlay that into entrepreneurship. There are a lot of people who aren't, right? And I, had my stint working for the man. I said that in air quotes. I actually worked for the federal government for almost 5 years before I became a full-time entrepreneur. But this was quite as it's kept was a conversation, especially amongst the young people who came through my cohort. So I, graduated from school and I was a part of a leadership program that targeted, undergrads and kind of moved us in the ranks in the agency that I worked with. And there was kind of this back and forth where people weren't so much considering entrepreneurship. I was, but I kind of kept that under my hat. But they were more so like, ooh, should I continue to work here in the government or should I go out in private sector? Because there was this realization that the longer you stay wherever you're working, whether it is a federal government agency or a corporation, the more your skill set gets defined by like the systems of that job, right? And so obviously in the federal government, there were like very specific computer systems that we had to learn how to navigate and very specific things that we got really, really good at. But we started to have this conversation with ourselves like, is this going to be transferable though? Like if I leave here, obviously, like no one else on the planet, like even other agencies aren't using these systems. We were like specifically designed just for this agency. If my whole job function is around being able to like maintain and manage these systems, I mean, how valuable am I going to be outside of this role, right? And that was a real discussion that was had. But I know people feel that way even working in the private sector and even working in certain corporations. Again, you get into a position, you get into a role. Are you solving a problem? Yeah, you're solving like a very specific problem for your employer, but they might have certain tools, a certain way of doing it that you get like really good at doing it that way, that you never kind of like lift your head up and think about like, oh, how can I solve problems more broadly? Can I solve problems for a broader market, right? Because whether you're an employee or not, I always say that you need to have a mindset of being, always being an entrepreneur, right? So even if you work full-time, still see yourself as an entrepreneur, you just have one client, right? You are your own company, you are you Inc., and you have one client and it is the job that you work for, right? Ask yourself, that problem that I'm solving for my one client, right? Which happens to be my job, is that problem big enough and valuable enough where if this job went away, I would be able to then sell this problem to other people in the marketplace and still do well by myself. I say that this mindset, right? Money is a byproduct before it is a bank account, is the mindset that so many wealthy people have because they don't focus on the money, they focus on problems and they focus on solving really big problems. So I've noticed a difference between my entrepreneurial friends and my friends who work traditional, corporate jobs. My entrepreneurial friends are always looking for problems that broadly multiple people in the marketplace have, right? So where my corporate friends are more like, oh, let me look at my resume. What one company is hiring for this role? What one company wants me to solve this one specific problem for them? Where the entrepreneurs are like, I've noticed that all these people have this problem. I'm sure there's even more out there. This is just what I can see. So many people have this problem. I'm going to focus on solving that problem and then presenting it to this audience, knowing that the money is going to come as a byproduct, right? So you want to think in terms of solving problems, solving really big problems, and solving problems excellently. And I said I was going to talk about the books at the end of this podcast, but I feel like it makes more sense for me to just kind of talk about them right now. The ahas that I got for this, right, that money is a byproduct before it is a bank account, actually came from two books that I was reading on my trip. The first book was Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. It's very, very good. He talks about really just like ancient Jewish wisdom or different kind of inherent money principles that many people in the Jewish faith just kind of automatically abide by, because it's just really a part of their religious heritage and their culture. And so, as a non-Jewish person, even though I am Christian, so there's, some overlaps in terms of at least the religious aspects, it was just super eye-opening to me though, how really he was saying that he was raised to see money, right? This author, Daniel Rabbi Lapin. And the core of it really started with this concept of you focus on solving problems, and you focus on solving problems the biggest way that you can, the best way that you can, like the most excellent way that you can. And so he really talks, he gives an example in the book where he talks about a young student, right? And by young, I mean like high school, not even college age, who just noticed that people in his neighborhood were having issues with their computers, and he liked computers and he liked to tinker with them. And so he started to kind of, help out and fix people's computers. And it got to the point that so many people were coming to him. They were saying like, look, I'll pay you essentially to like focus on my computer first, right? I'm not asking for this as a favor. Like, I'll pay you. Like, can you help me? And it just grew to the point where before he had even graduated school, I think in the book, they were saying that he was making over $1 million with this like computer, troubleshooting operation. He had hired like his friends in high school. And again, this all came from just focusing on being able to solve problems. And so I find that so many people really have it backwards. And they're like, oh, well, I just want to make money, or what kind of job do I need to get in order to make a lot of money? Where the real question is, where are the problems happening right now? The money will automatically follow. In fact, I was reading an article, I want to say on like CNBC or Yahoo or something, where they were saying that the problem of AI, meaning that AI is growing and it's becoming like such a huge thing. So many different companies and different industries want to use it, but there's not many people who understand it, who know how to program it, or who know how to build AI programs. These articles were saying that these consultants who could help companies get their AI systems together were making anywhere from $600,000 to $900,000 a year, just as like a single contract, or even as an employee. Insane, right? But why is that? Is it because, they just wanted that amount of money? No, it's because that is the problem. It's a big problem. It's a highly valuable problem to solve. And that's what you want to go after, right? And in fact, wouldn't you know that somebody not too long ago, I wonder who that is, came up with a free guide called A Profitable Problems Cheat Sheet, which helps you as an online entrepreneur, a consultant, or a coach identify what are the most profitable problems in your niche or arena, so that you can solve them and allow the money to come as a result of that. So if you're interested in that, I will go ahead and put that in the link below, either in the description box here on YouTube, or I'll make sure that is in the show notes. But I hadn't even planned to mention that, but as I'm talking about that, I'm like, hello, this has been a mindset that I've had for a while and that I've recognized was really important. So important that I actually came up with a freebie on this to help you identify what those profitable problems are. So the first book that really kind of got me thinking in this frame of reference was Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. The other book is Excellence Wins by Horst Schulze. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I believe he is German, but he is the co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton hotel chain. And the Ritz-Carlton is known in the hotel industry for having phenomenal customer service. They're a luxury hotel chain, so it's not cheap to stay at the Ritz-Carlton. But I just found this book so fascinating. I think it's just a good book that any entrepreneur should read, whether you consider yourself like a luxury service provider or a luxury product provider or not. If you care about excellent service and just being excellent in your craft and excellent in your product, I definitely recommend that book. But that book was really good because it showed that if you can do things at a level of excellence that is far and above beyond what others in your industry are doing, again, all the money will flow to you, right? Because people get tired of being nickeled and dimed and not getting what they pay for, right? In fact, because I read a lot of these articles, or this actually might have been a CNBC video, something. I think it came from CNBC. It was either an article or video that I watched, but it was fascinating to me because they were talking about the rise of premium airline seats, right? And how most of the money in the airline industry, when you talk about tickets bought, is actually flowing towards the higher end tickets, right? There's more people purchasing first class tickets than ever before, more people purchasing business class tickets before, and more people purchasing premium economy. So because of this shift in people wanting more for their money, wanting a better experience, most airlines have now added a fourth class, right? It used to just be first class, business class, and economy class. They've added a fourth class in between economy and business class called premium economy, precisely because everybody is if they can, are shifting their money towards a better experience, because people are tired of having terrible experiences when it comes to, flying. And I raise my hand. I'm definitely one of those people. In fact, during the pandemic, even though I wasn't traveling, that's when I got the idea to start opening up business credit cards so that I could stack up travel points, so that once the world opened again and I was able to travel, I wanted to travel business class. And so I actually have a video here that you can check out all about how I build international travel into my business and how I was able to travel, business class and first class by leveraging credit card points. But I know I'm not the only person that does that, right? I feel like everybody I've been talking to is like, oh yeah, that is definitely the name of the game. But part of that has been spurred because people are tired of being treated, like cattle on these airlines, right? I know everybody likes to make fun of, Spirit Airlines and all of that. Me personally, I won't fly on Spirit Airlines unless I'm like absolutely forced to. It's got to be like the only flight that is going out. And the reason for that is, the leg room is super cramped. You got to pay for a carry-on. Like, the experience is just, for me, so terrible. I'm like, unless it's an emergency, it's worth it to me to pay more money. And so I think a lot of people agree with me, hence these articles and these videos about how all these airlines are actually making money on their premium products more than they are on their economy products, because people are just tired of it. People are tired of it and they want an excellence experience. And so I think that's a good example of what I'm talking about. Again, if you could focus on solving a problem, but not just solving a problem in a super excellent way, above and beyond what others in your industry are doing, you will find that you will never worry about money. The money will really flow to you. And I have found that this has been the case, again, even in my business as it has grown, as we continue to add new products. I focus really hard on first my coach marketing program, right, which really helped coaches and online entrepreneurs really grow their brand, called the Next Big Name Bootcamp. I did something kind of revolutionary, and I still don't see a lot of people doing it, is that I spent a lot of money hiring an instructional designer to help me organize this course so that it wasn't just like a bunch of PowerPoints, slapped together. You pay all these money for these courses, you go through them, and it's just like some like janky PDFs and janky videos, and it doesn't even like really teach you what you need. I've experienced that before, and I was like, I don't want my clients to experience that. So I spent a lot of money having my videos professionally shot, working with instructional designers who understand adult learning to make sure that, everything went together. And don't you know, I made over $500,000 selling that program in 1 week. And that single program has gone over to do well over $1 million just in that one program, right? Crazy. And even now with my new program, which is the CLS coaching certification, super excited about it. If you think CLS stands for my initials, it does, but it also stands for Coach of Life Success, because that's the designation that you will walk away with when you get this certification. This is brand new. We're just now rolling it out. In fact, as I am recording this video, we are starting the first cohort. So I'm meeting the first group of my new coaching clients who are going through this certification. But I did the same thing. I said, how can we make this better than what else I see on the market, right? I know there's, a lot of coaching certification programs. Not all of them are accredited. So I spent the time and the money and the expense to get my program accredited by a third-party accrediting company. And then on top of that, I said, you know what? A lot of people get these coaching certifications, but they're still just commodity coaches, right? Other people have certifications and there's nothing that makes them stand out. So I said, what can I do in my program to help people stand out? And so in my program, we teach you how to come up with your own coaching methodology so that you'll be the only person on the planet with that unique coaching methodology, which then helps you stand out. We also show you how to package up your coaching methodology into a coaching program. And then if you want, we even have a bundle where you can then join the next big name and then learn how to market it and blow it up and become the next big name in your industry. So again, these are even my own thought process when I think about like, okay, I want to solve this problem, right? I want to help really just women and just entrepreneurs in general be successful. I want to help people monetize their expertise and create a profitable and lucrative living for themselves. How do I do that? Coaching industry, okay. But even beyond that, I'm like, how can I make it so that what I'm doing like is super excellent above and beyond what I see others doing in the industry? And I'm living proof of this belief, right? That if you believe that money is a byproduct, again, a byproduct of solving problems, a byproduct of solving problems excellently, it will automatically become a bank account. All my entrepreneurial friends who do well, I see that that's the case for them. And this has definitely been the case for me. All right, the next belief that I find that pretty much every wealthy person abides by is the belief that your network is your net worth. And I know that that's super cliche and a lot of people say that, but I don't think people like understand. It's so simple. It's almost so simple that people don't do it, but it's some of like the easiest money you will make in your life if you just focus on just developing a network of people. And it doesn't even have to be like, oh, I only want to associate with the most successful people. No, just make sure that you know a lot of people and that people know you and that people know what you do, because you never know when an opportunity for someone to reach out to you because they have a problem that you solve. Again, it goes hand in hand with the first belief. You never know when those opportunities happen, right? And so this was sparked again in that same book, Thou Shalt Prosper by Daniel Rabbi Lapin. Again, this was sparked in that first book, Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, where he also talks about this as well, making sure that you are in communities and that you know a lot of people and that a lot of people know you, because you never know when they might reach out to you. And this actually just happened to me recently. So one of the successful entrepreneurs that I was on the yacht cruise with is a chiropractor. He runs a chain of chiropractic practices. Is that how you say it? Chiropractor practices. He has chiropractors under him. He does really well. He was even doing like adjustments for us on the boat. So we kind of got to see in action, like, oh, this man, really knows his stuff. And one, it was just really amazing how everyone on the boat was like, okay, I know we're not supposed to be working, but like, when do you have sessions open? Or like, where's your booking link? Because when we get off this boat, when we get home, especially with these, long haul flights flying from Croatia, I'm going to see you because I want an adjustment. So that alone, and he wasn't even like pitching himself or trying to sell. He was just being himself amongst other successful entrepreneurs. They found out that he was a chiropractor and they're like, oh, well, next time I have a back problem or I need an adjustment, who am I going to call? I'm totally going to call you. Well, this was relevant for me because not too long ago, my nanny had an issue and she told me that she went to go see a chiropractor just like locally in the neighborhood. And they told her some stuff that I was like, nah, I'm not a chiropractor, but that just feels off to me. I would definitely get a second opinion. But she was like, well, I don't know anybody. I just Googled chiropractor and this was like the first company that came up. And I was like, I know somebody who I know, who I trust. I've seen him in action. I know he's a good guy. He's in our network. He'll probably take care of you just to, give you an assessment and won't charge you anything. And then he'll let you know if what the other people told you was the real deal or not. And so I referred my nanny to this guy by virtue of, again, he's now in my network, right? And so did he have to do anything extra for that business? No, he just went on a cruise to Croatia, with other people who now know him and knows what he does. And this has been even the case for me, right? I get calls all the time from people who are like, oh, I heard about you from such and such, word of mouth, friends pass my information on, and they're like, oh my goodness, can you help me? Especially with this new done for you service that I'm offering. So I've mentioned that in a few videos. I try not to promote it too much because people do reach out about it. And I'm like, we are taking a limited amount of clients. We're in beta. Again, I want to make sure that we are solving problems excellently. But I noticed that amongst my very successful entrepreneurial friends, they were very interested in what I did, but they were like, Courtney, I'm not going to join a program, not because I can't afford it, but because I don't have time to do this. Like, I need somebody to do this for me. I actually don't want to learn how to, do all the things that you teach. I just need someone to do it for me. And for a long time, I was always giving referrals like, oh, well, this is where I find my assistants, my team, my videographer, et cetera, et cetera. And they acted like they were just either too busy to follow up on the referral, or they're like, I don't know how to hire them. Like, what KPIs, metric, I don't know how to manage. It was just like too much. So finally I was like, okay, fine. I am going to create a whole separate company, right? So I've launched a new company that does this, right? So everything that I do for myself, all the systems that we've built, all the people that we've hired, we are now replicating those systems for my clients, where instead of coming to my coaching program where we'll teach you how to do all these things, we'll just do it for you, right? Now, it's not cheap, right? It's an expensive retainer. Plus, we do take a commission of the sales that we're able to generate. But I've been shocked at how many people have been like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing ever, right? Solving a problem that people want solved. But I have so many people coming to me, asking me to help them with this. And I'm like, slow your roll. We're in beta. I told you we're only working with a few select amount of clients just to make sure that we work out the kinks. But so many people are coming to me just by virtue, again, of my network, right? And these aren't even people that were like necessarily on the boat in Croatia. It's people who heard from the people that were with me on the boat in Croatia. They were like, oh yeah, I did this cruise with Courtney. She does this. She's launching this new company. You said that you need help with this stuff and social media. You should totally reach out to her. So now I have all this influx of people who are like, hey, I want to pay you. And I'm the one saying I need you to get on the wait list. We're working this out. As soon as we're, done, worked out the kinks, we'll onboard you. And so that's a perfect example, again, of how your network really is your net worth. How many people know you and how many people know what you do? As long as you are always constantly expanding that number, you're going to have people popping up saying, hey, I have this problem in my life. I heard about you. You're in my network. Can you help me? It's really as simple as that. All right, and the third belief that practically every wealthy person has is the belief that money is like the ocean, meaning there's more than enough and you couldn't get it all even if you wanted to. And again, I know this sounds like cliche or like, what are you talking about? But I find that people who struggle financially, again, even if they do well, even if they work a good job and they make good money or whatever, it's because they have this constant scarcity mindset that there's like not enough money. And because they have that scarcity mindset of there's not enough money, they find themselves pigeonholing themselves into either job positions or doing things that will allow them to earn just enough because they're so worried about not having enough, right? They're so worried about having what they have being taken away that they're never swinging for the fences and going after what they really want. But I find that wealthy people, in contrast, don't worry about the money. Like, yes, you need to consider the money, but again, if you are solving problems, you're solving big problems excellently, right? And you've grown your network, like you almost can't help but make money. And part of the reason why you can't help but make money is because quiet as it's kept, again, there is more money in this world than any of us, any one person could ever spend. Truly, right? There are more dollars chasing investment opportunities than there are investment opportunities available, right? Not to get into economics, even though I could totally geek out on this stuff on the side, right? In my former life, that's kind of where I played in when I did work for the federal government. It was in finance and banking. And so I was privy to a lot of these conversations and kind of what was going on in the housing market and interest rates. And so I like to keep up with it just because I think it's interesting. But when you think about how much money, right, is made during recessions, how inflation, right, how much money was printed during the global pandemic, like either way, there is so much money in the system right now that people who have surplus cash can't find enough places to invest it in, truly, right? So again, we have to get out of this mindset that there's not enough money. There's more than enough money. The issue is that is not, oh, is there no money? No, the issue is there's not enough places for that money to be parked. And so when we talk about places for that money to be parked, investors, people who have money, banks, etc., they are looking for places to put their money where it's going to generate a return. Now, again, in the middle class, we're taught to think of returns just in terms of the stock market, or you put it in a bank account and maybe you get like some piddly little interest or something, or maybe you buy some real estate and you get a return either through rents that you make on the property, or maybe the value goes up after a few years and you sell it, right? Like that's pretty much all we think about in terms of return. But you would be shocked at how many private deals are cut with people who have money and are looking for a place where they could park that money and get a return, and people who are entrepreneurially minded, who are able to take that money, flip that money, and make more money from the money, and then give the principal back to the person essentially that they either borrowed from or the person who invested. And so I'm starting to learn in this world again as my network is expanding. And so hopefully you see that all of these three beliefs kind of tie together. As your network expands, and as your network expands with people who do have financial capacity, people who are successful, you would be surprised at how many people kind of like want to do deals with you and want to go into business with you. So again, I talk about I'm starting, this brand new company that is doing all these done for you services. Well, I've partnered with my own instructional design company, right? So I just talked about in the first point, solving problems excellently. I went out and I hired this instructional design company to help me make my courses, as amazing as they can possibly be. Well, they do such a good job, and they've been doing such a good job over the last 2 years or so, really helping me plan and produce my courses, that I said, well, you know what? I'm doing this done for you service, and a lot of the clients that come to me, they need, an asset that they can sell. They need a course or a program or a place to, take their expertise and put it into that. That's you all's expertise. Let's joint venture, right? Let's go in on a company together, right? So I have business partners. We each get shares of the company, right? But now it's money making money, right? There's more than enough money that's out there. Someone who had the money, who had the resources is now partnering with me. And now we're going to be generating money, right? So this is what I'm saying. There are people who have money. If you have the ability to solve problems excellently and you are in their network, they will often partner with you and they will front the money for whatever you need, or, they'll put the money in on the deal because you both are going to be successful together. And even if that feels too much like, oh, I don't know anybody, or like it's going to take me time to grow my network, understands that banks, when it comes to businesses, cannot get rid of their money fast enough. Like they want to give businesses and entrepreneurs money because that's how a bank makes money, right? A bank's product is money. Think about that. A bank's product is money. What a bank sells is money. A bank will sell you $10 for $11, right? Because they know that, they'll make money on it. They'll make $1. And you don't mind paying the interest because it's money that you didn't have. You're essentially paying for the service of being able to borrow the money. But as long as you can do something with that money to make more than what the interest is that they're going to charge you, it's a win-win on both sides. And so this is why I talk a lot around how we have to get out of this mindset of not being willing to borrow money from a business context. In fact, I talk about this in depth in my podcast around how to legally start a business. I do touch on business lines of credit, business credit cards, but there are so many business banks right now, especially business credit unions. As long as you have decent credit, if you have an idea or a concept or something that you're doing and it's kind of proving itself out and you're like, wow, people really like this problem that I'm solving, I'm making a bit of money, but I need some money to really grow this out, to get my website together, to kind of build some infrastructure. Maybe you want to hire some people to support you. And so you need that money first before you can then go out and generate the revenue that you need. Why are people waiting until they can save it from their job? Not saying that that's a bad thing, but that's going to take you so long because you're paying all your bills out of your job. You only have one income stream. It might be years before you've saved enough to really dive into that business opportunity. And maybe the window has closed, right? Imagine all the people who were saving up money until they had enough money to open up their own taxi, company. And then Uber comes along and Lyft comes along. And by the time they've saved up all this money to go in on their own taxi cab and to get everything set up, too bad. The market's changed. Too late. The market has changed. There's a new player in town. And so that's what I'm saying. When you're solving problems and you're doing it in an excellent way and there's a market for it, you want to jump into it before the window closes. But oftentimes it's inconvenient because you might not have the money. But great thing, at least for those of us who live in America, you live in a country where credit is abundantly available. Again, as long as your credit score and profile is decent. So that's a whole nother discussion. Maybe I'll have to do a podcast or an interview on that with some of my friends who are in the credit repair space. But this is why it's so important that you always keep your credit score decent, because you never know when an opportunity is going to come up. And you want to be able at a moment's notice to knock on a bank's door and say, hey, I want to borrow, this amount of money for this business endeavor. And again, even if you're pre-revenue and you're a new business startup, I know that there are banks, I know that there are credit cards right now that will, loan you $7,500, $10,000 before you've made your first dollar on a brand new LLC, a brand new business that you have registered, because that's how much banks want to loan their money out. And in fact, I hadn't thought about this, but there are actually some credit card referrals that I recommend, because I know that even if you are a brand new business, again, as long as you have a decent credit score, and I know this for myself because, again, I've launched new LLCs and I try to get a line of credit on every new LLC that I set up, just because you never know when you're going to need it. And I want to make sure that I'm segregating those expenses even before I've generated revenue. But I have links for various credit card referrals for banks and credit cards that I know will usually advance you, again, $7,500 to $10,000 as long as your credit score is okay, just to help you get started in your business. So I will make sure that I include those in the show notes or in the description here on YouTube if you are watching this video. But yeah, those are the 3 beliefs that pretty much every wealthy person has, right? That money is a byproduct before it is a bank account balance, and it's a byproduct of solving problems, right? If you can solve problems, money will never be a problem. They also know that your network is your net worth, and they know that money is like the ocean. There is more than enough. So if you enjoyed this video / podcast, depending on where you're watching or listening from, give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure that you are subscribed on iTunes or Spotify. Tell a friend about it. And either way, make sure you're following me on both Instagram and TikTok. My username on both platforms is CourtneyLSanders. Follow me on whichever platform you prefer. And with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye.